Good morning. I trust that you are doing well today. I am burning some Palo Santo. If you don't know what it is, this is used for grounding, space clearing, and it's amazing. So I use Palo Santo in place of sage because I really don't like sage. Palo Santo's got this really nice, beautiful, woody smell, and it's really grounding. And the beautiful thing about Palo Santo, about Palo Santo, is that it is good for clearing, but it's also really good for manifesting. So if you haven't got it yet, if you're not using it yet, I would suggest you use it. Now, you probably would have seen, if you have used it in the past, you would have seen that maybe I've got a little clamp that I used so that I can get the last bit out of every single Palo Santo stick that I have. But this is what they look like. They little Palo Santo sticks, and they last a long time actually. So yeah, that's me sharing, and I'm sitting in my meditation space, my healing space this morning. So this is where I see my one-on-one clients. I've got like heaps of like tarot decks and cards here. I do my morning meditation here. I have got my mini coffee next to me. I love coffee. I've tried to give it up many times, but it is just one of those things that I really enjoy. So I'm trying to have less of it, but really take the time to enjoy it. So maybe one day we'll give it up. Yeah, well, the reason I'm here this morning actually is because I've over the last few days, I've kept getting the analogy of a rocket ship. And as the days have gone on, I've kind of, more of the analogy has kind of grown out. And it is such a beautiful analogy for the journey that each of us are on. Okay, so you know how we go through these cycles, and we go through, like, we've got this creative idea come through, and then we kind of run with it and we act on it and we start planning all these things. And then we might get to a stage where things become really hard, really rocky, and it's not working out, and it feels, you're frustrated, and it's just like bumpy road. And then, you finally get on the other side, and then, it works out, or you've got to pivot and you've got to start again. And the rocket analogy, this is where it comes in. So if you think about, let's say we've got a mission to go to Mars, right? You don't start with the spaceship. You start with the planning. You start with the creative ideas coming through. You go, okay, I want to go to Mars, or I want to go to the moon, or I want to go to, another planet. Then you've got to go and you've got all these ideas coming through, but then you've got to go and put processes in place, and you've got to plan it, and you've got to strategize, and you've got to create the content, right? You've got to create this thing that you want to, this vision that you have. Now, in this process in life, this is where we've got to kind of, there's the charts, and it's the testing ground, and it is that this is going to work and this is not going to work, and how can we make this better? How can we make this safer? And it's the same with life. When we want something, we want to manifest something, and we want to create something. So if you're in the space, you're an entrepreneur, for instance, you're in the space where you want to create. You are going to go through this. You've got to have systems in place. You've got to have ideas. Maybe you have to bounce it off somebody else, collaborate with other people. Perhaps there's, you get some materials in and you test it and it completely fails, and you've got to start all over again. This is the creation period, right? And then once we get, and it takes time. It takes time, right? It takes, maybe it's not going to take days or weeks. It's going to take months, and it's going to take years. And sometimes we get stuck in the creation process where we overthink things and we don't trust our intuition and our awareness. And that's when we can get stuck in that process. But let's say we move on, right? And we pass the process, the strategizing, and pass the creation process. Then we get to the place where we have the rocket, right? Now we've got to get in the rocket, and we've actually got to go on this journey. And I think this is where a lot of us get stuck in the stuff, where it gets really bumpy and it gets really rocky and it gets scary. Because if you think about it, when you get in that rocket and you launch off, you use a lot of your energy goes into the launch, not actually the where you get to space. You use a lot of energy to get to the place to actually launch off. I can't remember the statistics, but I think they use something like, don't quote me on this, but I think something like 75% of their fuel is used just to get off Earth, right? Off the planet. So there's a lot of energy that goes into it. But when we get to that stage where we are on the rocket ship and we are hurtling through, the atmosphere, it's like going up into, if you just think about all the Hollywood movies, it's noisy, it's clunky, it's bumpy, you're shaking, you're holding your breath. There's fear, there's anxiety, there's like this, is this going to work? Is the thing going to blow up? Are we going to make it? This period of the creation period of the mission is quite often where people get stuck and people give up. And I don't want you to give up. If you are in this space of creating something, when it gets bumpy, when it feels like it is just you and you alone on this mission, and it feels like everything is freaking falling apart, that's when you need to step into a space of trust, but also a space of surrender. Okay. It's the hermit card comes up, right? Where if you know the tarot, you know that the hermit card is like, it's withdrawn, it's solitude, there's nothing around you. But that often is not just withdrawing and removing yourself. That is a space of deep reflection. It is a space of trusting. It is a space of letting go and surrendering and knowing that whatever is being created on the outside it's kind of like the steps are still falling into place. It is you still hurling through the atmosphere, through space to get to the outcome, to get to this place or this thing that you want to manifest. So don't give up. When it feels like everything is falling apart, it feels like everything is shaking and rattling, you've just got to sit with it. You've got to sit in that space of trust and know that everything is kind of falling into place for you. And then we get that moment of breakthrough. We get that moment where we get into like zero gravity and just everything just settles and it becomes quiet and you're there. You've made it, right? You would not have made it if you didn't take the action, first of all, to act on the inspiration that you received, right? If the first, I don't even know who made the first rocket, but if they didn't act on the intuition, they didn't build and they didn't have a mission, it would never have happened. So if you receive, and when you receive intuitive nudges or an idea drops into your head, I act really fast. This is one thing that I've learned to trust my intuition. I've learned to run with the awarenesses that I have. And because of that, I have had a lot of mini missions along the way that have won, right? Where I've reached zero gravity, where I've reached an outcome where I could help people. So if you don't know how to build awareness and you don't know how to build your intuition and trust your intuition and learn how to receive the guidance, I've got a masterclass on my webpage, the Awareness and Intuition Masterclass. It's jam-packed. It's only $47. Go and grab it. It will change your life. And I'm not saying that lightly. It will absolutely. And there, I don't know if you guys heard that message coming through. To me, that is confirmation. That is like synchronicity, right? It will change your life. So go and grab it on my website. I will have the links in the description for you. Coming back, so you've got to learn how to. I don't know where I was going with that. Learn how to trust your intuition. Learn how to follow those intuitive nudges, and you will have little wins along the way. So this whole rocket analogy is actually quite beautiful because it's got these stages, and it's not just smooth sailing all the way through. It is not just good all the way through. There is ups and downs. There are cycles, and that's what our life is like as well. Now, if there's when we talk about cycles, and I'm not going to go into it here, but cycles. So if you a lady, a woman, you've got your period cycle, right? So there's all these cycles in there, and I don't know a lot about it, but you've got your period, and then you're coming off it. So it's essentially it's spring, summer, autumn, and winter. So we go through that cycle every month. So we've got to learn to work with those cycles, right? For men are geared differently. They've got a very different cycle. They can go for longer periods. So between a man and a woman, there's going to be very different ways for us to build our businesses or to create the manifestation that we want in our life, right? So we have got to learn that it is not all go all the way through. There are cycles. We've got to plan. There's got to be strategies. We've got to put systems in place. And then we create this thing, and then we launch off, and then we've got to come down again. And in that come down, sometimes we can get stuck there as well. But that's the hermit, right? That's a time where we've got to use it for deep reflection. And I've just gone through a space of really deep reflection. And I did some really deep work. And it was frustrating at times because I didn't have any nudge to create anything. In fact, I was pulled back from creating. And it really taught me to sit in the space and not wallow, although that did happen sometimes because I was obviously going through stuff, and I don't want to be in this. It's uncomfortable. I want to be out there. I want to be creating. I want to be helping people. I want to be supporting. I've got this mission. I want to share awareness and intuition. I want to bring it back into people's lives. I want us to teach our kids so that we can help them get out of the system, so that we can help them and ourselves to live a life of creativity and flow. That's just one of the things that needs to happen, and that's what my message is. So that's what I wanted to do, but I was put back into the space where I needed to not do anything, and I just needed to sit, and I needed to listen to podcasts, and I needed to read books, and I needed to, as little awarenesses came up, I needed to go and sit and reflect on them, little memories from my past. And over the last 2 or 3 months, I've had a lot of my childhood stuff come back to me where those memories were suppressed for a really long time. And I was surprised how much trauma I actually experienced, little traumas and big traumas in my life that I had suppressed, that needed to come up, because I cannot take the baggage with me on the next mission. Okay? So if you think about it, if your ship is too heavy with boxes and boxes and boxes of, stuff that you brought from land, and you get into a storm, the first thing that's going to go, that has to go, is all the stuff so that you can keep afloat. They don't take heaps and heaps of stuff into space with them on the spaceship because it's weight, right? It uses fuel, it uses energy. So those periods where we get quiet, we need to reflect, and you need to have the awareness and use your intuition to guide you as to where you need to go next. Which YouTube video is going to give you the answer to the question that you need now? Which podcast is going to lead you to bring up a memory that is going to surface so that you can actually remember it, filter through it, reflect on it, release it, and let it go. Okay, that energy that we kind of cycle through that energy. So that's what the quiet periods really need to be used for. It is actually a time of letting go. Okay, it's almost part of like the tower moment. It's part of the breakdown so that we can rebuild with the stones that really need to be there. I hope that makes sense. So the rocket analogy, I'm going to just go back there, is I don't know where you are at on your mission? Yeah, I'd love to know. Drop me a comment. Send me a DM, say, Leonie, I am here. I'm struggling with this, and I will support you wherever I can, okay? But just know that we go through these cycles, and it doesn't matter where you are, in which part of the mission you are at, there is always going to be guidance from your soul and from the universe and from your guides. There is always going to be help there for you. You just need to have the awareness to notice it. All right, beautiful soul, I'm going to leave this episode right here. I hope and trust, and I know that something in here would have sparked an idea, would have sparked some form of aha insight in you that would make you move on to the next level, that will support you in going through the rocky period or the period of creation, okay, the strategies, the systems. And if you're floating at the moment, or you feel like you're just on the other side of the float, like you are there, the excitement of being there, and you kind of going into that space of now what? Just trust. Just trust. Reflect. Enjoy the view from the top, looking down, and then also use that view from the top to look back down at perhaps the things that you could have done better. It's a space of reflection. There's reflection, there's something in every single stage of the mission. Enjoy your mission wherever you are at, and just know that you are not alone on this mission. There is always, always, always support for you. Going back to awareness and intuition. If you need help, ask the universe for it, put the intention out there. And if there is a coach, a teacher, or healer, somebody out there who keeps popping up in your feed, then perhaps you need to take a closer look. Maybe they have something that can help you on your journey. Have a beautiful day. Good luck with your mission, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.